You know that intense urge that comes and goes every single day, pressuring you to do that, wanking behavior? Well, it comes from porn. It could be a random good day for you, but out of nowhere, this irresistible craving to bust a nut just comes in and just pressures you to go into that evil website. The thought of just being 4 letters away from seeing thousands of butt naked people and exposed to these explicit contents, but yet you still choose not to do it. You choose to resist that urge every single day. However, in the end, you may have won a lot of battles against lust, but you ultimately lost the war to the dirtiest industry of all time. So last year was when my porn addiction peaked sky high. I'm talking about I was like heavily addicted to that shit. I was doing it consistently every single day, like it was on my habit tracker or some shit, and I just couldn't stop. Right. So on this day, I decided to go on a fapathon. Fapping marathon. You get the meaning. And on that day, I busted a total of 5 times. And on my last nut was around 12 a.m. after I scrolled, TikTok, all those girls and shit. And considering I was just 14, busting this amount of times is actually just wildly unhealthy. However, the 2 seconds of ejaculation every single time kept on reinforcing me to repeat the same behavior over and over again. So I searched for the perfect video and the perfect scene whilst trying to match up the tempo of the video. I was finding the pace and yeah, that's just fucked up. And with my death grip and my ultra momentum, I eventually busted. Absolutely nothing came out. I'm talking about like bone dry, not even a single drip, not even like a little moisture, bro. That was like the most fucked up post nut clarity of my life, and I felt just downright ashamed of myself. I was just so embarrassed with myself that I didn't even want to look at the mirror because imagine busting nothing comes out. So what actually happens to your brain when you watch porn? Well, there's a part of your brain called the striatum, and apparently it's responsible for your reward system, right? So whenever you feel any joy or don't feel any joy, that part of your brain is responsible for those emotions. And when your brain is exposed to these explicit content, it gets hit by a wave of dopamine. And in case you didn't know what dopamine means, it's basically this chemical that gives you the motivation to pursue for something that you know is going to give you pleasure and also rewards you with you know, the pleasant feeling for doing that behavior. But what's ironic is that you start to lose more motivation as you watch more porn because everyday challenging tasks like working out, doing meaningful work, meditating, journaling, all these activities don't give you that same pleasure that you get from watching porn. And so your striatum starts to seek for more easily obtainable dopamine sources because if I could achieve even more dopamine from just watching stuff and just jacking off instead of just going to hit a hard workout, of course I'm just gonna lean on to the least effort activity. So this is what happens to your dopamine baseline. When you watch porn, it gives you a surge of dopamine, which gives you this immediate satisfaction, right? So your dopamine skyrockets up. But right after you nut and that post nut clarity hits you, it drops back down below baseline. After that huge spike, your brain compensates by reducing the sensitivity and production of dopamine for a period of time. That's why it's harder to feel that same pleasure again as you watch porn. So there's a really huge difference for the first time you bust a nut and the 100th time that you bust a nut. You start to require more and more violent, weird, and more fucked up scenarios to really trigger your reward system and to really like make you excited for that thing. It doesn't give you as much dopamine as if you watched your normal videos. So that's why the porn industry gets more fucked each and every year. There are nerds behind the screens writing every single word, every single minute, every single position that you can think of just to keep you hooked. They are writing scripts of step fantasies or BDSM videos to keep you as stimulated as possible to these type of contents. And now we know what actually happens to us when we watch porn, but how do we counter it? Kill the thought immediately. As soon as the thought floats onto the horizon of your beautiful imagination, kill it. Just get rid of it as soon as possible as you can. Because if you let that thought just stay in your mind, you might think, oh, if I just think about it and I don't do it, then I'm gonna get the pleasure and I'm not gonna bust and I don't relapse. So great. Well, trust me, I've tried it before. It doesn't work because at the end, the more you think about it, the more you just want to bust out that nut. And that's what I eventually did when I kept that thought in my mind. Now, what if you try to get rid of the thought, but it still lingers in your mind? Well, the only thing that we can do is to transfer that lustful energy, because energy cannot be created nor be destroyed. So the thing that we can do is just imagine this dark, evil, red looking mist in your balls or in your brain. And as you take a deep breath, you disperse this energy around you, creating this like pinkish mist that is actually a pleasant thing to sit with, because horniness is actually a good thing. Being horny as a teenager is what you're supposed to feel, because if you don't feel horny and you don't get boners throughout the day, then you know you're weird. Your health is actually fucked up. So you're supposed to feel this horniness. This lust is supposed to be inside of you, and you're supposed to be happy about it, and you're supposed to just sit with it instead of reacting to it and let your impulses win. Acknowledge that the urges are just temporary. They're not a part of you. And there's this quote that I really like from a meditation video that I've seen. By the way, shout out to meditation. When you are in the mountain, you cannot see the mountain. If you can see the mountain, you are out of the mountain. So of course he's not talking about the mountain here. If you can see lust, you are out of lust. You just have to be aware of the thought. And when you're outside from it, you just observe the lust. And once you notice it, just let it pass by like any thought that you have throughout the day. It isn't your fault that you got propelled into this direction of lust. It isn't your fault that the porn industries kept growing and keep on creating more weird and violent videos for you to consume. But just know that it is your responsibility to deflect these temptations and to know how to manage with your impulses. It is your responsibility to keep on improving on this aspect instead of just letting it be a constant addiction in your life. And it's something hard to admit, but I still face these problems here and there. So just so you know, you're not alone. A lot of people are still dealing with these type of problems. And what we have to do is just be better, do better whenever we stumble upon this situation the next time. And speaking about addiction, before you go, I have this Calendly link, which is just 30 minutes completely for free, an addiction consultation call where you can book in the top link in the description below. If you're interested and if you relate to my advice, you can definitely go for it. Be the person you're supposed to be. Peace out, my G. Take one, my boy.